which is Notre Dame versus USC in their future. So at Big Ten Media Days, Lincoln Riley came out and he was talking about the USC Notre Dame game. And he was talking about how it had been a little bit of a struggle with scheduling and, the possibility of, at the end of the year, is USC going to play all of their best players against Notre Dame in this game? If you have the possibility of winning the Big Ten, things like that. So he said, I know it, being it, Notre Dame and USC, means a lot to a lot of people. The purist in you, no doubt. Now, if you get in a position where you got to make a decision on what's best for SC, I'm talking about USC, to help us win a national championship versus keeping that shoot, then you have got to look at it. Well, the AD for Notre Dame fired back after he heard those comments, and he said, we have every intention in the world and every desire to keep the USC Notre Dame game going for as long as it possibly can. We think it's great for college football. It's hard to imagine the college football landscape where Notre Dame and USC aren't playing each other on an annual basis. So, Eric, we'll start with you. Should more teams schedule for their record like Alabama or schedule for their fans? And the reason I'm asking this question is because Lincoln Riley making reference to Alabama and how they scheduled for their record, but he was talking about scheduling for the fans as keeping Notre Dame at the end of the year. So what are your thoughts, Eric? Should they schedule for their record or should they schedule for the fans?
Well, obviously, I'm a fan first, so I'm going to obviously want to see good football more often. However, I think Lincoln Riley is kind of getting some stain on him. I mean, he's tried to dodge LSU, and then now he's trying to dodge Notre Dame. However, I will say this: when I did my USC preview with the Light the Torch guys, they mentioned that they would like to see Notre Dame in the Big Ten because they would like to see that game continued, but as a conference game, and that does make sense in my opinion. Um, Everybody should play, I think, at least one non-conference game that is meaningful, at least one. However, that seems kind of sacrilegious to when you look at Ohio State's non-conference record this year. We're taking the Michigan approach to this, but I understand what Lincoln Riley's saying here, Jr. And that is, look, I have a team that's borderline playoff in contention, and if I can get 10 wins, and I can do so because I'm gonna go ahead and write in 2 L's in the Big Ten, and I have to play Notre Dame on top of that. And then all of a sudden, if I lose that game and I'm 9-3 and I'm on the outside looking in, where if I would have scheduled San Jose State and now I'm 10-2, why are you dinging me for playing a harder schedule? And so when I look at it from that perspective, I understand what he's saying. But from a fan's perspective, JR, I am all about watching Notre Dame and USC beat the living tar out of each other.
Great game to watch, and I loved it last year when Notre Dame took down
Yeah.
Caleb Williams and USC. So, yeah, no, I totally see what you're saying, and I'm with you. Where I mean, you want to see every team play at least one good out of conference game, but it's kind of like Iowa. Iowa plays Iowa State every single year in the out of conference. That's their only big game they play out of conference because they say, oh, this is a Power Four team, so we can't play two Power Four teams in the same year. Does USC really want to become that? Chris, I mean, do you think that USC should be leveraging them in the Big Ten now to try to get Notre Dame there, or is this something where you would think that maybe they should just cut Notre Dame off and say we're going to play you every few years, kind of like how Michigan and Notre Dame have become a little bit? What are your thoughts on it?
I absolutely am in favor of leveraging, using this as leverage to force Notre Dame into the Big Ten. I really would have been a fan of every team in the Big Ten saying, hey, we're not going to play you if you don't want to come to the conference. Um, in this era of conference expansion, let's call it what it is. Notre Dame is the big fish that's still on the table. It's the big fish out there. And it only makes sense for them to be in the Big Ten. So yeah, I'm not opposed to that leveraging of that. However, at the same time, I want to just look at Lincoln Riley and say, stop being such a wuss. I mean, for the love, if you can't go out there and win your conference, then you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be in the playoff. Now, granted, the Big Ten and the SEC, they're going to get minimum 3, probably more like 4 teams, maybe 5 into the playoff. We know this. Now, just depending on which conference is up, which conference is down. However, that being said, stop being a pansy. Get your guys on the field, get them ready, go out and win the games needed to get in the playoff, and then you don't have to worry about if you're playing Notre Dame and Ohio State in the same season, or Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan in the same season. It's that simple. You take care of your business, and the schedule takes care of itself. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
I mean, it's absolutely that simple. So I think Lincoln Riley, if he's using it as leverage to help force Notre Dame into the Big Ten, go with it. Play it up. Big Ten, come out and say, Notre Dame, if you want to play our teams, you come to our conference. Because otherwise, you're not going to have a relevant schedule.
I totally agree. I mean, if the Big Ten were to say, Notre Dame, you cannot play our teams until you join the conference. I mean, I truly believe that is the only way that Notre Dame is going to go into a conference if they are forced to, whether it be by college football playoffs or whether it be by conferences just saying, we're not going to schedule anymore. Because at the end of the day, it's not within our best interests. And I mean, if you look at Notre Dame's schedule this year, it's not great. I mean, they're playing 4 non-power 4 teams. And we want to talk about how Ohio State has a weak schedule. Look at Notre Dame's; it's even worse. Their toughest game is probably Texas A&M at Texas A&M, which I mean, at Texas A&M, what's
Florida
their toughest
State.
game, Eric?
Florida
Okay,
State.
Florida State. But is that at home or is that at Florida State?
It's home.
Yeah, that one's kind of hard to see if it's at home, but yeah, I have such a hard time with that one. So, yeah.
And Florida State
All
lost
right.
quite a bit, didn't they? I mean, that's
No, it's quite a bit of a roster turnover, but it's still pretty good. They have a pretty good roster, I'd say.
Yeah.
Better than A&M, in my opinion.
Well, in A&M, I mean, they have the home field advantage in
Yes.
that one. You know, I mean, what was it the EA Sports game gave them like the toughest place to play in the country or something like that? I don't
They
know if I
also
believe
have
that,
some
but
really weird male cheerleaders too.
well, yeah, they do wear the white pants and everything. So